Hello everyone, welcome to our video ministry update for the month of March, where we share with you all that's going on in our lives and our ministry in the country of Bolivia. One of the things that I've continued to do while we've been on furlough is help some of the newer guys there in Bolivia, the pastors, in the preparation of their messages. I've done that partly so that I would continue in the practice and still be used to preparing and studying and preparing messages, but also to help guide them a little bit, to help make sure they have the right focus and help them kind of with an outline of the passage as they prepare the same message. And recently we were finishing up the book of Matthew, and we came to Matthew chapter 28, and of course the famous passage that's focused on the Great Commission. And as I was preparing that, helping prepare that message, I began to think about what the disciples were going through during that time. And no doubt in that point in their lives, they were probably asking the question, now what? They had been with Jesus all this time. Then all of a sudden, Jesus was arrested. He was tortured. He was crucified, and he was buried. They had to flee for their lives. And there's no doubt that everything had changed. Everything they had imagined, everything they had dreamed, maybe all their plans seemed like they had come to an end. And no doubt they were asking that same question, now what? But they remembered one thing, that throughout the latter part of their time with Jesus, he had told them several times, when this happens, go and wait for me in Galilee. I will meet you in Galilee. And although the disciples probably didn't know what the next step was, they probably didn't know what the future held, they were fearful for their lives, they remembered one thing, and that's what Jesus had told them to do. And at least they were willing to submit themselves, to be obedient to what Jesus had told them. And so they went to Galilee and met Jesus there. And of course, that's where we get the challenge to them to take the gospel to the world, the Great Commission. And so often I think in our lives we can have those moments where we ask the question, now what? Maybe there's been a transition in our life. Maybe something has come to an end. Maybe we even feel like we've failed so many times at what we were trying to do that we just feel like maybe I should just give up. Now what should I do? And I think the same as the disciples, we can understand in our lives that Jesus is waiting for us in Galilee. In other words, all he wants from us is availability, a willingness to submit ourselves to him and obey what he has commanded us to do. And if we'll do that, then I promise you that our God is a God of second chances, and he's always there willing to help guide us through that next step of our lives, asking the question, now what? And he will tell us what to do. All we have to do is be willing to meet him there in Galilee. We'll realize that he's there to guide us and direct us and to give us that second chance. Also, this past month, we started a new semester in the Vision School of Missions. Both Beth and I are teaching. She's teaching a class on women teaching the Bible to help some of the lady students learn how to teach the Bible, prepare lessons, things like that for kids and for women one day when they get to the mission field. And then I've been teaching Church Planting 2, which has a focus of leader training. So my class has been focused on that second and maybe even the most important step of church planting, and that's how to train up leaders in our church, and then specifically how to, Lord willing, one day train up a pastor that will be able to take over that church. And the desire is that church will be able to continue on for many years because it has that prepared and mature leadership in the pastors and even the leaders that we're able to prepare, to train. And so during our class, we focused on several things that maybe I even personally struggled with when I first got to the mission field. I understood the what I was supposed to do, but the how, there was just a lot of missing gaps there. And I feel like through the years, the Lord has been able to teach me so many things about this process through trial and error, through learning from others, and just learning by doing it, about how we can really be effective in training up the next generation and training up the leaders and pastors when we are doing church planting. And so we've been talking about things like how to identify a leader, because not all people are going to be leaders and not all people are going to end up being pastors, obviously. We've also focused on basically seeing some biblical examples of that process, about how biblically we see how leaders were trained and people were left over. Jesus and his disciples, Paul and Timothy, even from the Old Testament, some great examples and principles that we can learn there. And then the actual process. which is probably the most difficult part and what's missing so often. How do we actually work in someone's life? Because it's not just taking them through Bible college classes per se. It's actually working in their life to see if they have the qualities of leadership, help them develop the qualities of leadership, and then even working on the inward part of them, the inside of them, the heart, where their character and their integrity and all those things, so they can truly be a prepared leader that not only has the knowledge, not only understands the ministry, but also has the spiritual maturity and stability to be able to lead that ministry forward and have God use them greatly in the ministry. And so we've been praying that during this class, the students will be able to really get a hold of a lot of these principles that maybe I was lacking some in my life, and that they can move forward much more quickly when they get to the mission field and they begin this process of training leaders. Then also, over the past several months and even our furlough, we've been very grateful for all the prayers and support of the churches, and some of these churches that we've been able to visit. We've been able to visit some new churches, but also some of the churches that have been faithfully praying for us and supporting us for many years. And we're so grateful for each and every church and the part that you have in our ministry. We don't ever want you to think that we take that for granted or lightly. The sacrifice that you make for us, because it is so important and allows us to do what we do on the mission field. The interesting thing is how we've been able to visit this furlough several churches that when we visited the first time, it was just Beth and I. We were just kind of newly married, had no children at that time. And now that we've gone back to visit, we visited sometimes with no children. Our children are older now, and even our son Titus sometimes doesn't travel with us because of activities, responsibilities, and school and things. So it's kind of interesting how we've come full circle. We went there as a young couple without children, and now we're getting to the point in our lives where almost with an empty nest, almost without children again. So when I think about that, it just makes me think about God's faithfulness and the faithfulness of God's people and churches. And so we do want to just say that we're so thankful for you and your faithfulness, those who have supported us sometimes for many years. And it was just really great to sometimes catch up with new people, new pastors sometimes in those churches, but even people who had been there from that very first meeting that we had. Some of them remembered us when we were still young and looked a lot better than we do now. But it's just a great time. We've had a wonderful time on our furlough so far, visiting some of these churches. I just want to encourage you to continue faithfully helping missions, giving to missions, praying for missionaries, because it truly does make a difference both in our lives and the ministry that we're doing somewhere around the world. So if you have prayer requests to share with you, please pray for the Lord's protection and blessing over the churches and the pastors there in Bolivia. As we know, the enemy's always fighting. There's always challenges. Pray for the need for laborers around the world and the many people that still haven't had the opportunity to hear the gospel. It's just a burden that we always have, both in Bolivia and Latin America especially, and even around the world. Pray for laborers. We say that often. Pray for several young men in our ministry that we're helping to prepare for marriage. We have a couple of single guys who are in the process of being prepared for their marriage, Lord willing. In just a few months, they will be getting married when we get back to Bolivia. We'll be having a couple different weddings at that time. And so pray for them, pray for their preparation and their family that they're getting ready to form. And then also pray for us as we've been traveling a lot over the last month or so. This is our busy time and now getting towards the end of that. But just pray for us as we continue to travel and as we get close to wrapping up our furlough time while we're here in the States. So just want to thank you so much for all that you do for us in the ministry there in the country of Bolivia. We're so thankful for you, and just to realize that without you, we could not do what we do. So thank you so much, and Lord bless.